Hello, hello, hello. Crafty Chris here for another Scrap Your Scraps on Thursday night. Tonight we are going to do a takeoff of a card that I saw. So we're going to make it into a layout. And it's kind of like a bright summer. You could use this for a pool party. You could use this for uh, birthday parties, girl, boy pictures. It's actually quite flexible. So we're starting off with a 12 by 12 white cardstock. This one is patterned cardstock. I don't like the pattern side. I'm not a big fan of textured paper. So I am going to turn it so that the flat side is facing forward. And what I've done is I've taken my 12 by 12 strips that I had in my junk storage. So let me just show you. So in my packages of leftover papers, I just took some of these leftover 12 by 12 strips and I kind of tried to stick with fun primary and secondary colors with some kind of a whiteness in their patterning, and I cut them into strips of 6 inches by 1.5 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making these into flags, but I want to kind of have an idea of how many and how I want them arranged on my page. So I'm just basically pulling out between the darker hues. I want a lighter hue. I can go in the order of primary and secondary colors, but I don't think I even want to do that. I think I just want to have some fun and lay them around. Maybe I do want to do that. So let's flip that out for a second. We're going to flip that in, and then pink is kind of on its own. Let's see, red, yellow, orange. Sorry, that should be the other way around. Red, orange, yellow. I'm not using green in this layout because I didn't have a green I really liked. So turquoise, pink, and purple. And then I'm going to start the pattern again with red, and orange. Find another orange here. Now some of my paper I didn't have enough, but I had little bits left over because the pages weren't completely 12 inches long, so I've kept those because I can put them together for flags when I cut these into 3 or into oh, I'll show you when we get to that point. Now, do I want to double up on the orange, or do I want to double up on the blue? So if I did purple, pink, and blue. So that's the other way I could go. No, it's too pale on that side, so we're not going to go that way. I think we'll go back to this and this. And when I look at that in my screen, I think the red is too dark, so I want to keep only one red. So let's start with an orange, then a yellow, then a blue-green, then a pink, then a purple, then a red, then an orange, and then another yellow. So it just takes a little bit of time. Oh, that guy's short. That's interesting. I thought this was a 12-inch piece of paper. Ah, it's just short. Okay, so I'm going to have to cut another one of those. But I can use that as backup if I do a 2-page layout, or if I do a card, I have it already cut. So 1.5 inches. And I'm going to get a full 6-inch piece. There we go. Now let's see how that lays out. I like that better because that red is just a bit intense. Alrighty. Let's move that red down. One more. Everything's going to shift over. Oh, and then I'm back into the red again. So what if we do this? I just want to find the perfect balance. Red, orange, yellow, and blue. I want to have a little bit of balance. We don't want to have... I don't want this to stick out quite so much. So we're going to move this along. This is how I play with my colors. I just literally move things around until I get it the way I want it. This is causing me problems, but I don't have anything else I can use. So you know what? We're going to go with this. I kind of like this going on. So let's stick with this for now. Alrighty. So I'm going to put these guys aside because I may make this into a double page spread. I'm not sure. Alright, so each of these now I want to cut into 2-inch strips. So if they're 6 inches, each of them will be cut into 2-inch strips. Make sure I've got 6, yeah. So we're going to 4, and we're going to 2. Perfect. Do that with this guy as well. So my first color is going to be this. Better do this in order. Second color is going to be this. And 2. Okay, so 1, 2. Okay, so I'm going to continue cutting these until I get all my little piles and in the order in which I want to see them on my page. So I will return after having finished cutting these papers. Okay, so just to reiterate, I used 6-inch pieces, strips of paper, 6 by 1.5 inches, and I cut them into 1.5 by 2-inch pieces. Now I'm going to prepare the flag parts, and I'm taking a square cutter, the largest square, because I don't want the flags to be super, I don't want them to go too far into the actual part of the paper. I want there to be just sort of a small, see, even that's too big. I'm looking at that. Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to do this by hand. So I'm going to measure 1, and then I'm going to cut following the measurements of 1. So I want it to go up, I guess I want it to go up maybe 3/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to mark that on here. So I have this, start at 0, and maybe I'll do it on the back. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's white though, so it wouldn't look good on a white background. So the center of my 1.5 is right here. And am I looking at that properly? Yep. So there's center, and I want to go up 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch. So somewhere across there. So there's my center point. That's where the point of the cut needs to go, and to that height. So I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to pull them out of the project. Because I bag up all of my projects that I'm working on, so I just put everything I need in a little project bag. so that when I'm going places and I know I'm going to have some time sitting doing nothing, I can just pull them out and do a little bit of work. Okay. Okay. Okay, now I'm just going to have that go up a little bit more. There we go. And does that look about even? No, it does not. So I'm just going to cut a little bit more. There we go. That's better. Okay, so now I'm simply going to use this as a template and lay it over my pieces, hold my pieces nice and tight, and line up my cut. Follow the cut line, and so that I don't ruin that first piece. There we go. So there's 3 flags. I'm going to do 3 more. Make sure I'm nice and lined up. And just finish it off. There we go. There's my pinks, my purples, some of my paper is thicker than other papers. Oh, that one came apart very easy. And I'm just going to finish off my colors this way. Now I'll be right back. Okay, so I have all my guys cut out. Just move a few things out of my way. And now I want to start laying them up from the bottom. Now because they're 6 inches, they are not actually going to end up being halfway through the page because we have to overlap them now that we've cut them enough that the paper underneath doesn't show. So the first thing we're going to do is I want to have about, I would say, an inch and a quarter from the bottom. Let's see how that lays out. So if I have my first one, an inch and a quarter from the bottom, and then my second one is going to be slightly over that, and my third one I'm going to end up at 5 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I work out at 6 inches. Oh, right, because I'm that makes sense because I'm dropping down from that 1/4 inch. Now, is that too much? I think we're going to start at an inch. We're going to have an inch border at the bottom. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I am only going to tape across the top here, and I'm going to use double-sided tape just because it's a bit quicker, and I need to have the bottoms free for me to be able to turn them up a little bit when I'm done. So I'm going to take my double-sided tape and I've got 1/2 inch double-sided tape, and I just rip off my tape. I don't get fussy with cutting it each and every time, but I am going to be fussy with lining it up on the edge of my paper. There we go. So there's my first layer, and then I'm going to do that with all of the layers side by side across the page. So now I'm just basically lining them up with each other, making sure that they're straight and aligned. So that's blue. Oh. That's yellow. I could have drawn a line to show where I was actually sticking this down, but I don't think it's necessary. As long as you're lining each of them up with each other and you're not letting them slip under each other, they should stay straight. Okay. So as I said, I saw this on a card, and that's, you know, something you should be thinking about when you're making your cards. If you have a really great design on a card, it can also look really great on a layout. So my suggestion would be is while you have all the materials out and you're making that card, make a layout, at least a one-page layout at the same time if that card, since you have all the materials out anyway, if that card ended up looking like something you really like. Make sure it's lined up. Okay. Two birds with one stone. Whoops. Okay, I'm going to have to trim that off because I got some paper on there. There we go. Alrighty, so there's my first row. Now my page width does not seem to be quite 12 inches, and that sometimes happens. Depending on the quality and the company of paper that you're buying, there can be variance in, yeah, it's a little short. So this paper width is actually 1/8 of an inch short, and it looks okay tall. So that's interesting. Anyway, okay, so now we are going to overlap. We're going to take our next color, and we're using the same color. We are going to overlap a bit. So if I line up with my grid, I want to overlap so that these guys, the points of these guys, are at the 1/2 inch mark. I can see my grid through my paper. I don't think that you can see it. So I'm just overlapping so that the bottom of the points are at the halfway mark. So here's my inch marks and the halfway mark is there. So I want to line my tip up with that and line it up with the paper as well, but it helps if you take the sticky stuff off the back first. Maybe I'm going to go down 1/16 of an inch from that. So let me refresh what I was saying. So if you could see my grid, I have 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. My tip is going down just about 1/16 of an inch below the halfway point. There's my inch, there's my halfway point, and then it's just the tip of this point is just a little below the halfway point. And again, I don't need to measure going across. I just make sure I line up my flags. I'm going to stand up to do this because I'm having a hard time seeing. There we go. There we go. Okay, everything's lining up good. I'll finish along here, but I just want to, again, we're going to measure up from the bottom. So from here to here is my inch. My ½ inch is there, so just slightly below my ½ inch is where I'm going to put the next one. Got a little bit of paper on there. If you get some sticky stuff, just roll it back. And so I'm going to do that same measurement. So my inch is here. Where are we? So I'm going to line it up right about there. So that puts me about 1/8 of an inch from the 6.6 inch mark. Okay, so there's my 3 laid down, and again I'll go across using that. So once I've got this down, I will return with the next step. Okay, so here we are. I have finished all of my flags and they're all nicely organized. Now I want to curl up the edges of the flags. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can do that with a special curling tool, or you can just do it with your fingernails, which is what I plan to do. And so I'm just going to take my fingers from the center and I'm pulling out to the tips. You don't want to go too far because you don't want to expose the paper underneath, the white paper underneath. But you want to get some texture happening in your flags. Now, yes, eventually they will flatten down, but they will never be quite flat in your album. And the thicker the paper, the a little bit harder you have to press to get that texture. And this is why I did not tape anything but the top, so that I could be able to curl up my edges without worrying about ripping paper. Almost done here. There we go. And there we have our fancy little, and you can just kind of muffle it around a little bit, scruff it up so it's not so uniform. Try to get it a little bit less uniform, but it's gonna likely just flatten with a bit of it. You'll see a bit of it pop on the tips. All right, so now I've got this green ribbon. Because I haven't got green in here, I thought it'd be neat to add a little bit of green ribbon to create the band across the top with a little bit of a bow on one side. And the easiest way to make a bow is not to, go around the paper and then tie the bow, but to actually let's see. I'm going to take one full piece, snip it off, and one half piece, a little bit more than half, snip it off. And now I'm actually going to freehand tie a knot so that I can get a nice knot done without worrying about struggling with my paper being attached underneath. And want a little less. And I'm just pulling the ends. And now I can just turn around and tape this behind. Maybe I'll move it that way a little bit. So I have a bit of a bow happening here. Just play with it a bit. Okay. So now I'm going to tape this down. First, I'm going to use some of my double-sided tape, just a tiny little bit, behind the bow. So that bow is going to stay in one place. And make sure that I fold back anything that might be seen. And then I am going to place it, excuse me, on my page the way I want to see it. And we're just going to go to the edge of, there we go. And now I'm going to put some double-sided tape. I'm going to put away my 1/2 inch and I'm going to get out my 1/8 inch. And I'm just going to put 1/8 inch tape across the top edge of my layout. Peel that back. And now just lining up with the top edge of my flags so it's nice and flat and even and straight. And I'm going to turn this and do the same thing this side. Tear it off at the edge. And this one is going to take a little bit more manipulating. There we go. And then I'm just going to turn over and make sure my pieces are going to stay down nice and flat. Just going to trim this little excess bit off. There we go. Fold that over. Fold this over. There we go. And there we go. There's my finished page, more or less. I do want to trim my ribbons, so I am going to make sure my scissors are nice and sharp. And do a nice quick cut. Let's see. So they're going in the same direction. There we go. There we go. Okay, my little ribbon. I could have tied a bow. I just like the idea of having a little tiny bit of ribbon on that one side. This is all ready to go back in its container. Okay. Throw some garbage out there. Okay, so now I want to look at how I'm going to lay this out and what I'm going to do in terms of mats for my pictures. So I don't want to cover up a lot of this. I might cross over a little bit, but we really kind of want to keep our pictures across the top. A fun thing to do for that is to pick a color and make a flat mat and then mount a number of pictures on it. So let's see. I can get 2 3.5 by 5s on there. That's not really satisfying me. I think I'll put, I like the idea of 3.5 inch squares, or let me take those away. Sorry. Got my thinking cap on here. Maybe we won't do 3.5 because that doesn't work sort of evenly. I'm missing a whole bunch of sizes in here. So this is 3 by 4. That's 3 by 4. And let's go to some 4 by 4s. There we have some 4 by 4s. There we go, something like that. So 2 4 by 4s and a 3 by 4. And now we're going to have to choose a matte color. And what do I want to bring out in here? I think I'm going to go for something in the turquoise, to pull some of the turquoise. Or I might even have something all ready to go here in the yellows. Look at that, my leftover piece of paper in the yellows. That's actually going to work. So that paper is 12 and 3, well, 12 and 2, 4, 12 and 5/8 by 4 and 7/16. So that's an odd shape, but you can choose whatever shape you want. And we're going to kind of center that at the top area, like that. Put a 4 by 4 here. You just want it big enough to show around your photos. There we go. That was just a fluke, folks. You can round those figures up and use whatever size you would like to use. Something like that. And then my title goes right down along there. And we need to figure out what the title is going to be. So before we glue that down, we're going to get out our Words and Sentiments album. Actually, I have beach stuff. So I am going to go grab my beach stuff because I want something to do with playing with water, being at the beach, being at the pool, something of that nature. Okay, So I found this thing. It was in my travel stuff. It's got a pink, I don't know if you can see that, a pink edge to it. And it is sort of a blue tones, blue to yellow. What do you call that? It's not a hieroglyphic. It's a hologram like finish to it. And I thought I would use the words sunshine inspired. So that would be my title for this layout, sunshine inspired. Now, the thing I have to figure out, and I'm just going to cut out the words very quickly. I might use some of those little circly dots because they remind me of like water droplets a little bit. So I'm just cutting this right out. I'm going to separate the words because I won't have them sun. So I have to decide where I want to put this. So I'm going to try it at the top and the bottom and see where I end up. So I'm just chopping this out, sunshine, and then the word inspired. Whoop. Keep the I dot with it. And I like the play in the hologram because it's got blues and yellows and green tinges, and there's some pink in there, and then the edging being pink really makes a difference as well. And I probably should have measured this a little bit differently as well. So sun, shine, inspired. I can have that at the center, or I can move this down and center it at the bottom there. Put these guys sort of centered, and then have sun, shine, I'm going to take that off there, inspired. To be honest, I like it in the center. It anchors the page. Now it's interesting because when you look at these without seeing the light hitting them, they're very pale, but when you get them on the page and the light hits them, they kind of are, they knock you out of the park a bit. So let's get this just with some normal adhesive. I'm going to put this across the top centered. And I like that idea of sunshine inspired. So like our day or whatever we're doing, however we're playing. Oh, got something on there. And I'm going to try to center this at the bottom edge here. How does that look? That looks pretty good. I'm going to get some tape. This is my repositionable tape that I use just to keep my mats on while I'm doing my planning. So 4x6 and kind of center it. There we go. They're 4x6. Sort of centered. And normally I just keep these stuck on my pencil sharpener off to the side of my desk and reuse them. But I have used my most recent ones. Okay, so this, I think I need to move this one over a little bit more. And this one, a tiny bit more. And then that gives a little more space for this guy. So that becomes your mat. There we go. And now my title can go across the bottom. So let me find, where did the inspired word go? Oh, there it is up here. Put that back. So inspired is going to go here. And I'm going to put that down first. And remember, when you're using these, what do you call them? These are like foam words. You peel the backing away from the word. You don't peel the word up from the backing. And the reason for that is because it will crease your word. So I'm pulling the backing from the word. It really does make a difference, even though it seems to be kind of a weird thing to have to say. When you pull the backing away versus pulling it from, it really makes a difference. And your piece doesn't get all spazzy. So I am going to have this. Actually, I'm going to pull it a little bit more to the end here. And there we go. There we go. And just pull my photo out from there. My photo I'll tuck when I finally get the photo. Now I have to put the dots on. And I don't want them to be too far from the writing. There we go. Inspired. See how that has all those colors in it? It's just pretty awesome, actually. And now I'm going to put shine, again pulling it away from the backing so you don't get any damaged, or kind of gives it sort of a weird texture when you do it the other way. Oh, the eye. The dot just came right out. And these have been cut a little bit too deeply, and I'm noticing that I'm struggling getting them off the backing because they've cut into the slippery backing. Oh, no, that's not good. Oh, it's supposed to be separate. And so I'm having more of a hard time separating these guys from the backing because the backing has been cut in and therefore wants to stay stuck. And I'm trying desperately not to tear it or create that bend in the foam. There we go. Hopefully I didn't do too bad. Now shine. So we're going to have the E right around there. And want to make sure the N is close. There we go. And more or less lined up with the inspired. There we go. And that little dot now. I'll go there. And the word sun is the last thing to put there. the bottom. Do you see how it's pulling away? Oh, it's going to be a pain. So I'm going to get some bending in this one. I don't really like that. This is not make me a happy camper. All stuck to it. So now I got to go to the back and very gently remove everything that's stuck. And I can't tell you if this is a good quality sheet or not because I don't have the name of the company on it. But the better quality, the sticky letters are, the less problems you have with them. Okay. Trying to pull this away rather than the other way around. There we go. Now my nails are all sticky. Big mess. I have to clean the goo off my nails. And then I want that end to be about in the same place. It's a little bit bigger. And that is just going to squeak in before my ribbon. There we go. All right. Now, some of these little circular doodads, let's put a star here just to fill up that empty spot. And a couple of these on here to resemble water dots. And this has not come off. There we go. That's very annoying. 3 dots should be enough. Wow. There we go. 3 dots, 3 different locations. Might put another star at the bottom here. There we go. They're really pretty how they catch the light. And I have 1 extra star here that's just sitting on this piece all on its own. That'll make 3 stars. And let's see how I want to put that. Somewhere up here. And that will go, I'll just lift the corner to go under my photo when I have my photo. And there you have it. So I'm trying to see my triangles, and I need something either down here or up there. I'm going to move this guy just a little bit further down, and this one is going to go up there. There we go. Triangles, 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 triangles. Oh, I think that works for me. And just that little bit up there, because your photos are going to draw your eye. Okay, so there you have it. That is your finished page based on a card layout that I saw on Pinterest. And I think it looks pretty fun. Sunshine inspired. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I hope that this quick and easy layout will end up in one of your albums and that you enjoy doing it. Bye for now.